In the 1960s, Singapore faced chaos, rampant crime, widespread corruption, and a rising drug epidemic threatened the survival of a young nation. Today, it's one of the safest, cleanest, and most prosperous countries on earth. How did Singapore turn the tide and transform its society in just a few decades? After independence in 1965, Singapore was on the brink. Corruption crippled governance, organized crime ran unchecked, and drug abuse spread among vulnerable populations. Citizens feared for their safety, investors hesitated, and the nation's future hung in the balance. But one visionary leader had a plan to reclaim order. What strategies did Lee Kuan Yew and his team use to confront corruption, gangs, and drugs simultaneously? And could they work anywhere in the world? Lee Kuan Yew, Singapore's founding prime minister, understood that survival required more than policing. It demanded societal transformation. He envisioned a nation governed by law, meritocracy, and strict accountability. Every policy was aimed at rooting out corruption, enforcing law and order, and rehabilitating citizens. Singapore created the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Offences Commission, ICAC, in 1972. Officials, no matter how high-ranking, were held accountable. Public trust grew, bureaucracy became efficient, and investors flocked. Corruption, once pervasive, was drastically reduced, proving that strong institutions can reshape a nation. But corruption was only one battle. Street crime and gang violence remained rampant. How did Singapore deal with the gangs that terrorized neighborhoods? The government implemented strict law enforcement. Police were professionalized, penalties were harsh but fair, and community engagement programs rebuilt trust. Rehabilitation programs reintegrated former gang members. Within a decade, violent crime rates plummeted, turning fear into safety and lawlessness into civic order. Drug abuse was a ticking time bomb. Singapore introduced mandatory death penalties for trafficking, strict border controls, rehabilitation programs, and public awareness campaigns. While controversial, these measures drastically reduced drug-related deaths and addiction rates. Singapore became a global model for effective drug policy. Could such strict measures work in other countries without violating human rights? Singapore's example remains unique, but effective. Law and order alone weren't enough. Singapore invested in housing, education, and public health. Social programs lifted families out of poverty, built civic responsibility, and nurtured a productive workforce. What was once a vulnerable population became disciplined, educated, and empowered. Today, Singapore is one of the safest, least corrupt, and most economically advanced nations in the world. Its transformation is studied globally, from crime-ridden city-state to a thriving metropolis. Countries worldwide look to Singapore as a blueprint for combining governance, law enforcement, and social reform. Singapore's methods weren't without criticism. Harsh penalties, strict laws, and tight government control sparked debates about personal freedom versus societal good. Yet the results are undeniable: public safety, low crime, and a disciplined, prosperous society. The question remains, what lessons can the world learn? Is Singapore's formula replicable in other nations facing social crises? Or is it a unique product of its history and leadership? Behind every statistic are real lives transformed. Former addicts rebuilt families, reformed gang members contributed to communities, and citizens embraced civic responsibility. Singapore's transformation shows that when leadership, law, and social programs align, even the most dire societal crises can be overcome. Singapore's story is a powerful lesson. Social evils like drugs, crime, and corruption can be defeated when society takes a holistic approach, combining law, policy, enforcement, and education. From chaos to a thriving, civilized nation, Singapore stands as a global example of what's possible when vision meets action. If you want more investigative documentaries on history, global transformation, and public policy, subscribe to TruthLens Global. Hit the bell icon and join us as we decode the world, one story at a time.